when I first got interested in making games, a lot of the ideas that I had were just like this big game that I like playing, that was probably made by a large team of people in most cases, plus, you know, like with some twists on things and with some cool new idea tacked on top of it. This is a very natural kind of idea to have. You know, if I wanted to write a book, I would want to write Lord of the Rings plus, like, it's embarrassing. Well, it's just a very normal starting point, and so many beginners, like that's their ambition, to make World of Warcraft with, except with their own everything, but World of Warcraft. But so my first many projects I tried to make didn't get anywhere near completion because I was trying to do this very big, difficult, complicated thing with which then needed to be enough change to support the extra complicated thing I was trying to add on top of it. And in retrospect, the problem is obvious, but yeah, sometimes you just have to try things to understand. So for some time I went right in the other direction and made lots of very small games, and that was really good for me, and I would completely recommend to anyone starting out in any art form, like, just do what you can to minimize the gap between having an idea and having something, a released version of it, and repeat the loop of starting, working on finishing, and putting out there as quickly, as many times as you can. So that's how you grow. And yeah, I took a bunch of shortcuts to get that loop as short as possible. I was mostly working in quite low resolution, using a limited sort of engine that I built myself that just made it quite quick to make a particular space of things that I was making. And yeah, like, about 12 years ago, I wrote on my blog, I'll link in the video description, a post about the value of work by a young artist with the exuberance and fresh vision, like just what you're able to bring to the work from a youthful perspective versus the work of an ancient master who's been doing it for many years. I brought this meme that I saw this morning. This is across a 40-year period, hokusai's some of his drawings of waves, culminating in this like amazing view of Mount Fuji, which, like, it's iconic, obviously. Like, and you can see the first one is the most realistic in a sense, like the most directly representational, and he took time to figure out the right abstraction to really show the heart of a wave. That's when he's 72, so yeah, I want to get there. I want to I want to be 72 and making something so perfected by having done different versions of it across the years is be nice. Yeah, so in my blog post, I wasn't saying one of them is better than the other. Just that these are who you are and what stage of life you're at is something that you bring to your work, and you can't separate yourself and your life situation from your work, and there isn't a better perspective to have for making art. It's just that your art is an expression of your situation perspective. I actually tried to be a bit contrarian because like I said, this was 12 years ago. I was late 20s, mid 20s, I guess. And when I wrote it, I was like kind of seeing myself being somewhere in the middle of this, right? Because like I was looking at the work of younger artists than me. Like there's some people even in their late teens making some cool games, and so I was appreciating work people younger than me, and like also people older than me. So like we always tend to think of ourselves as in the middle. But obviously on the grander scale, which I was obviously somewhat aware of, I was much towards the young end. And yeah, games. I just wanted to come against this perspective that games are a young art form, and like we give the embarrassing parts of them a pass because they're young, and we expect them to get better as the art form matures. Like they're not young, especially if you don't see video games as separate from the games that people have been making for thousands of years, which I don't. I know some people like really value making that distinction, and I don't see the point. Like, it's on a computer, that's cool, it's a new thing that technology is bringing to it, there's new stuff we can do, but it's not. It's an evolution, it's not a. It's not. It sits in relationship to that, right? There's a whole bunch of concepts that carry over, and there's concepts that don't. So there's a whole bunch of interesting stuff to untangle of that relationship, but it's not a new medium. It's an evolving medium. But even video games have been around longer than I have. If they're not. I'm not into this thing of being faintly embarrassed of them. Like I do it sometimes. Like there's social situations where like, hey, what do you do? I make video games, and people will be like, look askance at you like that's not a real job. Still, like, it's honestly gotten less like that in the last decade or so. But yeah, sometimes I can be a bit shy to just like talk about my work because it's like something I take seriously and care about and value, and I just don't want to put it in front of people who are just going to like laugh at it and just think it's not something of value because it's not one of the mediums that they give authority to. Anyway. Yeah, so in this blog post I was just trying to argue that like games are a mature medium, and the work that is much more valued is the work of older people who've been doing it for a long time, and the vibrant, punk, effervescent, like lively work of young indies coming up is not taken as seriously, and and it's only the indies that even get to express that, because if you work in the industry, you don't have a much creative influence over the work until you've worked your way up. Well, that was 12 years ago, and I think to the extent that was true then, it may have changed, because I mean, what brings us to light for me is that, you know, I'm now in a different phase of my work. I have a chronic fatigue condition. I don't have the energy to just jam out new things every week like I was going for, and it's been a bit of a development for me to figure out how do I work now and come to terms with that. But the upshot of that is that it makes sense for me to be proceeding at a slower pace, taking more time on things, polishing them, or giving more time to grow, rather than lots of releases. And yeah, it was funny. Last year I had a ill-fated relationship with a publisher, where, like, at first I was like quite excited about the possibility. That's like, yes, because I had run out of money, because like we had been frugal, and we had savings, and it seemed like enough runway that like one of us could get a job, or I could potentially make another game that would make money, and then the pandemic hit and I got sick, and just the savings that we'd built up just got spent surviving, recovering from that. So I would have liked to have been in the position of working on something more expensive, and instead I was in the position of frantically trying to get something out that would bring money in, and so this publisher opportunity seemed like great. This is a way to get my career back on track. Like they can maybe fund something bigger, and then I'll be able to even be like leading other people, and like at a place that makes sense to be at this stage of my career. But then in the end it didn't work out. There were different expectations, and part of that, which was quite funny, was that they wanted me to be doing more like rapid prototyping and like jamming out things quickly, and getting things that can be playtested quickly, rather than like exactly the kinds of processes, so that I've played a role in arguing for the validity for. Now that I'm at a phase where that's not what my focus is, like other people turn around and say, you should be jamming and prototyping faster. This, it was an interesting turning of tables. Like I obviously I've never argued against making big projects. I just and as I did 10 minutes ago, I still advocate that as what most people starting out should do. But it's like what at some point you've done that loop a lot, and you can rule out a lot of things without having to prototype them, and that sets you up much better to be able to. Because there's just things that you can't make on a rapid loop. If you insist on having something playable in a few weeks and then doing iterative development on that, that's a great process. I love that process. I love a lot of things that have been made like that process. It explores a particular subspace of possible games. Anything that needs a complex structure built around and connected up before the whole concept works is ruled out. And most of those ideas should be ruled out. Like, can't deny that, because like most of them don't work. Yeah, I have made my share of complex loops that I thought would work out once it all came around, but didn't. But you get to have a sense of what is and isn't going to work out, and like the hokusai, you just get I mean, I'm almost 39. Like I have a long way to go to get to that great wave. But I hope like it works out to just keep doing creative work and getting there. I started this Patreon and these videos. Like the videos are here to show you that I'm still alive and how I am, and it's actually really fascinating. If you just go back and look through the thumbnails, that like you can really see my recovery, and like it's got up and downs, but you can see the vitality in me. It's it would be amazing to have that record even back through 2020, but obviously I didn't have much capacity to do much of anything back then. I started this as soon as I felt capable of doing something. I'm recovering really well, and you can see it. And I know people would love to, if I was like saying more like technical design details of the stuff I'm working on, but I'm just very aware of marketing, there's a couple that I've saved up of like spoilery stuff to post at an appropriate time, and I'll try and do some more of those, because it is nice to talk about things when I'm actually in the thick of them, but there's just stuff that it's not the right choice from a marketing perspective. Like, I'm getting more comfortable saying, but as indies we can kind of feel like, oh, we're allergic to marketing and stuff, but that's just something we have to get past. And yeah, like I have limited the sales of some of my past games by being allergic to marketing, and I'm big enough now that I don't need to keep doing that, because that's dumb. Yeah, that's a lot of what I'm trying to achieve with these videos. It's just like practice putting myself out there and find the authentic voice to speak in, because a lot of what is sickening about marketing is its inauthenticity. And for me to try and exactly follow someone else's model would automatically be inauthentic, because it's not what comes naturally to me, and it wouldn't be effective, because people can feel when you're doing something from your heart or not. And like, there are people who do like by the book marketing, like the kinds of things that I would look at and just like vomit. It meshes with who they are, and they're able to do it in a way that doesn't feel bad, because it's them. They're being themselves, and so that I'm trying to make myself a better advocate for my work, because it's like the work will speak for itself. Like, it kind of does, but only if it's actually in the position of speaking to people. And I'm recognizing that I'm responsible for more than just making it. I have to get it where it should go. And I'm just trying to build myself in a direction that I'll be able to do that in a way that makes sense for me and for what I'm making. So just wind back. There was a strand I was on before I got off on that. I worry sometimes about like these videos are too long. Are these videos too long? If I just like I fight a battle in myself when I have to pause and think, because I want to bring a more thoughtful spaciousness. It's really what I've been the dominant culture in games is out of this like Silicon Valley, like high pressure thing, and I have stressed a lot and worked myself harder than made sense, and burnt myself out. And really the lesson of the long COVID fatigue is take time. I'm trying to really like confront my psychological like worries about boring people, and just so I know that if I am just really comfortable and relaxed, this will not bore people. But if I'm holding that tension of like worrying about if I am going to bore people, then what you worry about, what you fear, is what you bring to pass. To some extent, and sense which you're smart enough to figure out what applies and what doesn't. I'm not going to try and make too precise a statement there, but you can work it out. Yeah, I'm at a stage in my career where it feels like it's making sense to take time, and then I'm at a stage in my body and my health where like I have to go more slowly and take more time. So it's actually it's it's, it's certainly not a blessing in disguise, but it helps keep me on the right track. As if I veer from it sometimes, and I start trying to put pressure on myself, and I'm worrying about the money running out, because that will happen. When I start putting that kind of pressure on myself, is when I start getting sick again. So it's a guide. I'm not talking about what the meaty game mechanical details of what I'm working on right now. Like I said, I might record some to save up for later, but I don't want to. I want to be able to harness the energy of here's a surprising new thing that I've been working on for a while, to get that marketing boost, to hopefully help it sell enough to keep me going. Like, these are practical concerns. But I'm also feeling that the details don't matter so much. Like I end up talking more about the philosophical design art approach to making it, and like I feel like working out the specific mechanical details is downstream of that. And if I can I will get to talking about those details, but it makes sense to develop how I'm talking. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on that. It's just it, the general principle is more likely what you can take and translate to your project than like the specifics. But there's good in getting into specifics, because it can. A general principle isn't one unless it has specifics that it applies to. Anyway, I'm also a little reluctant to announce what I'm working on, just because like at the start of last year I announced that I was doing a sequel to Cinco Pouch, and it's just embarrassing to announce more things. If, I don't think this is going to change track, just because there's not time before the money runs out to change track. I think I'm doing the really best choice at the moment for what I can do, what I feel inspired to do, something that I love working on, and what is going to have the best chance of selling. So it's a good intersection there. But I want to have a bit more to show before I announce it, like that. People when I announced that last year, I just wanted people who are supporting my Patreon to know what I'm doing, what the money's going towards, so they can make an informed decision. But I think a lot of people expected it was a lot further along than it was, just because people don't typically make announcements about video games until they're a lot further along. So that was maybe not understanding the expectations on my part, but it all works out. And it was really good for me to open myself up to the idea of making a sequel, because I've really tried hard to be original and like creative and not repeat myself. And that's for a stage of my career, that was a great principle. You see 868 Hack, Imbroglio, Single Pouch, like these are free games in the same genre with some of the same features, but trying to make each of them not repeat what I'd done before. Really, I know some people like who haven't played them just look at my work and say, oh, he just does that kind of thing, and it's frustrating because if you play these games, they are so different from each other. There's, even though they're all using the movement on a grid mechanism, they're so different. And so then there was a big psychological barrier because I'd put so much effort into distinguishing my work and been so frustrated at people not realizing how I really was doing different things. Can't you see? To come around to the idea of actually what I wanted to do then was to make a sequel. It was a big psychological barrier, and a lot of creative work is psychological, emotional work. I think this is a theme I'm trying to really get at in the discussions I'm doing in these videos. That the main limitation on what we can make is what we can imagine, what we can believe we can make. There was a lovely article a year or two ago by a guy, Sasha Chapin. It's called "If You Have Writer's Block, Maybe It's Time to Stop Lying." Something like that. I'll look it up and again link it. It's like, I mean, the title gets the concept across. You probably don't need to read the article after that, but yeah, there's when you feel stuck and you don't know what to do next, there are various things you can do, just taking a walk, taking some time off, but the outcome of those is for you to make the realization of the thing that you actually knew and wanted to do, but for some reason weren't letting yourself do. Like almost always something of this shape. Every situation is different, but and like this can be in the large sense of like creative writer's block, whatever, that you can't progress. You're procrastinating. You're unable to focus, unable to progress. But it can also, what happens like 20 times a day when you're in the middle of a project, you're just like slightly stuck, and then you realize, oh, this constraint that I thought was a hard constraint isn't, and now I can progress. And you get, one of the skills of being able to do good creative work is being able to get past those little roadblocks quickly. And it's an emotional skill. It's a skill of letting yourself feel what you are feeling so that you can think the thing that you're trying to think but that you think you can't think. Does that make sense? um, and emotional skills are body skills. So this is why like having a shower or going for a walk lets you overcome those little roadblocks, because you regulate your nervous system, and then you're able to confront your feelings, and then you can have the idea and move on. Yeah, so for me this idea of having to be original and do something new was an obstacle. And yeah, so like being past that is good. I'm now thinking really good things about what I can do that I just wasn't letting myself think. Just because of this assumption that it, yeah, it's being in a I did that rapid prototyping, jamming, expansive stage of like going out in lots of directions, and now I'm in a more consolidating stage. I will let myself, and like letting myself make a sequel is like then like that opens up permission to like repeat myself in smaller ways, which like look at hokusai, like if you just like draw on the first wave, which was like actually a nice wave. I was like, well, I've done waves, never get to the view of Mount Fuji. Like, it's funny because like I was making these little roguelikes, so I had this idea of exactly how much I'm allowed to repeat myself and how much I have to do that's new to be original. Like, it's like breaking apart all those rules. I can repeat myself any amount and also do new any amount, and repeating and doing new don't have to be in tension with each other. I can repeat myself by doing something new and do something new by repeating myself. And yeah, yeah. Thanks for listening, and see you next time, hopefully soon. And next time, sorry for doing it. Like I recorded something last month, but I didn't post it because I was just overthinking it really, and I'm just now. The good thing about these is I'm having something that I can not overthink, and I'm in that more giving myself time to not be perfectionist, but work at a more mature stage in my games. It's good to also have creative practices that I can just jam. Like this is what a jam looks like for me right now. Thanks.